Welcome to Wild, Wacky, Wonderful Humans. This is the podcast that celebrates the quirks, the courage, and the brilliance of being human. I'm your host, Jeanene Tracy, transformational coach and curious explorer. Let's dive in and uncover the magic of being wonderfully human. Welcome to another episode of Wild, Wacky, Wonderful Humans. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being wild, wacky, wonderful, and a human. I wanted to touch today on how you deal with things that change, and not just any kind of change, but things that change within your world. And what I'm talking about is things like relationship changes. So you might separate from a partner, you might gain a new partner, your partner might change, might start to have different, hobbies or things that they do differently. How do you cope with that? Your job or your career may change. How do you deal when the thing that you're pouring your heart and soul into changes? Your children change ages, they change needs, then you're needed in a different way. There's so many different things in our lives that change that we have to adapt to. Even things such as aging, weight gain or weight loss. And I'm speaking personally from this at the moment. So I'm aging. I'm 52 and I am really noticing the changes in my aging. And it's really interesting because we attach we become the person that is attached to the behavior that we have. So we can actually create an identity based on the things that we're doing and the things that we engage in, which is pretty incredible because those things change. And so when those things change, who are we then? If we are the thing we're doing and we no longer have those things in our lives, who are we then? This is pretty scary stuff because if we revolve our lives around a way of being, then it's not who we are. I'll give you an example. I've had clients who are smokers. I've had clients who have a lot of weight on them, and they identify with that. So, I've had people say that if I don't get to go and hang out with the cool people, I'm sure you can all probably relate to this. It was the cool people who were smoking. And, I know when I was working in Auckland in a particular office, I used to hang out with the smokers because they were cool and we'd go out at lunchtime and we'd talk and we'd chat. Or we'd go out for a 10-minute break because the smokers need to leave the office to have a smoke. And so they were getting all these breaks. And so I was like, I want to have these breaks. I'm going to go hang out with the smokers too. Now, if you became a non-smoker, what would happen to that group of friends? What would happen to the conversations that you would have had every couple of hours for 10 to 15 minutes at a time? You lose that. And so then do you lose your identity? Do you lose who you are? If you were the smoker, you're no longer the smoker. Who are you then? If you're the overweight person and you're no longer the overweight person, who are you then? And so it's really interesting. I'm just really curious about this at the moment because, I know Michael A. Singer has an incredible book. I think I've probably already mentioned it. And if I haven't, that would be weird because I love this book. I've given it to so many clients because it's life-changing. It's called The Untethered Soul. And in this book, he talks about who are you? So if I ask you now, who are you? You might say, I'm a 24-year-old woman and I live in Boston. And then I'll say, okay, well, who were you last year? You weren't a 24-year-old last year. You were a 23-year-old last year. And then, have you always lived in Boston? Did you live in Kansas? at one stage of your life. Okay, so if you're not a 24-year-old woman who lived in Boston 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, who are you then? Okay, so you're not the age, you're not the location. Sometimes now especially, you're not the gender that you were born with. So who are you at your essence? It's really intriguing because we create the who we are based on the things we do. So going back to, how do you cope when something changes? If you have tied so much of your identity into the things that you do, who are you when these things change? Can I ask a question around, is there anything in your life that's changing right now? As humans, we are constantly changing. That is the only thing that's constant, is change. We're either growing or we're retracting. We're withering and dying, or we're growing. We're never sitting still. And so with that change that's inevitable, how are you implementing the change? Are you resisting the change? Are you avoiding it? Or are you embracing it? Because it's quite easy to do the resistance and the avoidance, right? Because it's difficult. We don't want to necessarily go through the change. We don't necessarily want to step into something new, because stepping into something new is the unknown. And that can be so bloody scary, stepping into the unknown. And so what we do is we either cling on to the past, we pretend it's not happening, or we avoid it. So I guess my kind of experience of this at the moment is around, what am I doing to ensure that as things change, grow, morph, how am I embedding those without feeling a deep sense of loss? Because we can have a really deep sense of loss. Somebody leaves us, whether through death or through relational separation in some way. If we're attached to that person so deeply that our identity is attached to them, then who are we without them? So how are you adapting to that change, that constant change? One of the key things that I've always done throughout my life, and I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but I'm just saying that this is the way that I have coped with the change that's happened, because I've had huge amounts of change in my life, is I really just take a step back and ask a question. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again because it's my favorite word. You could probably guess it if you've listened to any of my other podcasts. It's curiosity. Being curious about the thing that's happening. Why? I wonder why this is happening. What is there for me to learn about this? What does this change mean for me? Who am I without this? And who can I be? Who can I step into being with this gift, which seems like a problem or a challenge? Who am I with this gift? And so, yeah, it's about reframing the situation and seeing it as a gift, or seeing it as an opportunity for growth. If we get stuck in the victimhood, or in the, why me? Why does this always happen to me? My life's shit. These bad things always happen. Then they will. They'll continue to happen. But if you start to spin that and you say, oh, okay, this is the third time this has happened to me. This is the third relationship separation I've had in the past 6 years, or the past 3 years, or the past 10 years, the past 20 years, if you wanted a one long-term relationship, right? This always happens to me. Does it? Does it really always happen to you? Stop and listen and learn from the thing that's happening. What is actually happening? Maybe it's an opportunity for you to be alone, for you to step up and shine a light on you, on who you are as a person. There's so many people out there, and I'm sure you know someone, maybe you are that person, who can't live alone because they've only learnt to attach themselves to something or someone and feel worthy within that. rather than being present to themselves and being open to truly understanding who they are as them, not the 24-year-old female in Boston, but who are you really? You're an energy, you're a love, you're a soul, a spirit. You are an energy. So, yeah, if you're being a victim, or if you're being, desperate to have somebody to be with you continuously, then just shine a light on that. Why are you needing that? Ask the question. Be curious. Be kindly curious, though. Be kind to yourself. It's not about berating yourself. It's about asking the questions with kindness, being incredibly compassionate about the situation, and allowing yourself to experience the learning, or the growth, or the love. Because all learnings are shrouded in some love. All learnings are an opportunity to love yourself more. So how deeply are you loving yourself? How deeply are you allowing yourself to learn these lessons? And to not be a victim. And to not be a poor me. This always happens to me. How can you instead turn or spin the situation? So I'm coming back to my question. The reason I wanted to talk about this today was around, how do you cope with change when things are constantly changing for you? Your body, your mind, when you start to lose your mental acuity, or your mental brilliance, or your clarity, how do you deal with that? The key is to not sit in the pain of it. The key is to ask the question, what can I do about this? So many of us just settle for the pain. We settle for the lack of energy, the lack of clarity, the intense fatigue. We just go, yeah, that's me now. That's how I am now. Yeah, I can't walk very well. I struggle. What can you do to walk better, to not struggle as much? I've been going through this myself. My energy has been crazy low. So I'm engaging, I'm doing blood tests, and I'm trying to find the source of what's going on so that I can change it, because I'm not accepting it. I would love to just lay in bed all day and do nothing. But I've chosen not to do that. And it takes energy, it takes effort. And often I don't have that energy and effort, but I know it's important. I know there's a lesson, there's a learning in this. And I mentioned this last time, if you have the mantra or the idea that this too shall pass, it will. It always does. Everything passes, and this will too. And one day, this will be a story you tell. One day, this will be a story I tell. I'm telling the story now, but one day it'll be even a deeper story that I tell. So yeah, where are you sitting in that? Are you taking responsibility for your own health, for your own wellness? Are you taking responsibility for the way that you respond when things happen, when changes happen? Because if you don't take responsibility, you're going to end up as a pile of a heap on the floor, depressed and anxious and not having anything to live for. So get up and start making the choices that serve you. Start looking at the opportunities to shine a light on your life. And when a change happens, I want you to ask yourself this question. If this thing didn't exist in my life, who would I be anyway? If this thing never existed in my life, who would I be anyway? Because without that thing, we still exist, don't we? We're still here. Without Boston, we still exist. Without being 24, you still existed. So put a spin on it. When you're getting a challenge, when you're getting a change that's coming through that's really painful, or it's really opening you up and making you vulnerable, Ask yourself that question. Shine a light on the opportunity for you and make a decision to hear, to feel, to see, to acknowledge the lesson. Make a decision to do something differently. Make a decision to love you, to love yourself compassionately, and to give yourself the wisdom that's available. It's always available. We've got so many different avenues, haven't we? We've got books, we've got podcasts, we've got music, we've got magazines, we've got people, we've got mentors, we've got groups of people that we can be a part of, communities that we can be a part of. Be that. Instead of rolling over and not surrendering. Surrendering is a good thing. But rolling over and giving up, that's not conducive to having an incredible life. So my challenge to you is to question. Question what you can do to make the change. You take control. Take control of your life, and you'll be smiling more every single day. You'll be bringing joy back into your life. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your journey with me. I love it. Keep listening. Keep being wild. Keep being wacky. Keep being wonderful. You amazing human. Love and blessings. Thanks for tuning in to Wild, Wacky, Wonderful Humans. If you had fun, share it with someone just as wild and wonderful as you. Stay wild, stay wonderful, stay wacky, and I'll catch you next time.